The pain won't seem to go away. Just hold me and watch me. I promise I won't be asleep.
Hey, what's up YouTube? Welcome to today's tutorial on animating a simple door in UDK. So all project files will be available in the video description. So I'm going to open the test map that should be in the project files. And as you can see, it's just a simple light with some geometry setup, nothing big. This tutorial should be very easy to integrate into your own game. So first thing, we're going to add in our door. Or in this case, I'm going to add in a gate because there are no good door models that we could use for this. But it should be simple to translate into your own thing. So opening up Unreal Content Browser, I'm going to click on All Assets, and then I'm going to search for Gate, because I have a very specific model in mind, and I'm going to click Static Meshes. And we're going to use SMGate02. So you're going to click on that in the Content Browser, and then where you want to add it, you're going to right-click, and hold on, I'm going to try something. Right-click on that first, and then right-click. For some reason, you have to right-click on the static mesh first and not click on anything. But once you do that, you're going to right-click where you want to add it, and you're going to add interp actor, and then it will add it to the scene. You have to do it this way. There are some settings you can modify, but this is by far the easiest way to do it. And I'm just going to put that into position. So I'm going to scale it up a little bit to the size of the hole. So that should be good. Now I'm also going to right click, add actor, and add trigger. I'm also going to close out Content Browser because we're not going to be using it anymore. And I'm going to go into the top view, and I'm going to position that in the center of our door. And then I'm going to scale it up just a little bit so that that box is around the outside of our door. Just like that. Now with our trigger selected, I'm going to go up to Unreal Kismet. I'm going to click on it, and I'm going to right click and add a new matinee. And then I'm also going to right click with the trigger selected, hover over new event trigger 0, and I'm going to add a touch event, and then plug touched into play and untouched into reverse. Now at this moment this won't do anything because we have to set up a new matinee. So I'm going to exit out, make sure matinee is selected, and I'm going to exit out of this and go into Unreal Matinee. And with our door selected, I'm going to right click, add new empty group, and I'm going to name this gate. And then I'm going to right click on that, and I'm going to add a new movement track. Now by default, if we go over here, you can see it added a new keyframe at its first default position. So now if we go to the 1 second mark, which should be about right here, and then drag this up, I can add a new keyframe, and if we double click the stop, it'll go back to the beginning of the animation, and then we can hit play. As you can see, it plays forward, and if we click the play backwards button, it plays backwards, which we're going to be using both of those animations, so make sure it does both. Now again, it should be easy to add an actual door here and just make it rotate instead of swinging, or instead of going up and down, but you will have to make sure that the origin is on the corner instead of the center, like in this gate. So now if we right click and play from here, it should work. Just click yes if this message pops up. It should be good for this tutorial. Now if it goes up, you'll notice it goes up, but now if we back away, nothing happens. That is because we have the trigger set to only trigger once. Now to fix that, you click on your trigger, and under sequence event, you change max trigger count to 0. This means it'll trigger as many times as you need. So if we go and do that again, play from here, you see it opens, and then as we back away, it shuts. And then as we get close, it opens, and as we back away, it shuts. And it'll do that for all eternity. But say we want to get a little fancier. Well, we can right click, add new event, and then under input, sorry, not input, under new action, miscellaneous, we can then add delay. And if we change this delay duration to about 3 seconds, and then change untouched into start, and then finished into reverse, and then we play from here, you can see that the door goes up, and then if we back away, we have to wait a few seconds, 3 seconds to be precise, and then the door comes back down. So that's pretty much the end of this tutorial. That covers the basics. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to teach you how to do something a little more advanced. In most games, you don't just have to approach a door. You have to approach a door, and then you have to press either E or F to open the door. So I'm going to show you how to do that. Now, unfortunately, it is going to be complicated because UDK has no option to just, if this is happening and this is happening, do this. It has no way to do that. So we have to do a little bit of a workaround, and it involves some Boolean logic, sort of. So I made a flowchart to help you understand it. Basically, we have two events here. We have our button press, or key press, I should say, which is going to be the button pressed on the keyboard. And then we have our trigger, which is going to be when we stand inside the trigger bounds. And what that's going to do is, for example, button press is going to set the variable A to either a 0 or a 1. And then trigger is going to set the variable B to either a 0 or a 1, depending on whether or not it's activated or not. And then it's going to check, and it's going to say, is A equal to B? So if both of them are not pressed, so if the button's not pressed and the trigger's not pressed, then it fails this check. But if it does pass the check, so if they're both equal to each other, so either both not pressed or both pressed, then it checks to see if one of them is equal to 1. Because they're both equal, because we've already checked to see if they're both equal, if one of them equals 1, then they both have to equal 1. And if that's true, then we open the door. So that's a little complicated, but I'm hoping you'll be able to see it once we start working on it. So in order to do this, I'm going to right click, add new action, or sorry, I'm going to add new event, input, key button press, and then under input, sequence event input and input names, I'm going to add a new one, and I'm going to add the E key. And now I'm going to right click, add new action, and under set variable, I'm going to add new set int, and then plug pressed into in. Now I'm going to add our variables. So new variable, integer, and just add an int, and we're going to set this int value to 1, and then we're going to hit Control-C, Control-V to duplicate it, and we're going to set this one to 0. And we're going to plug value into 1 and target into 0. What this is going to do is, when our key is pressed, it is going to set the target to the whatever's plugged into the value. So it's going to set the 0 equal to 1. Now, hitting Control-Alt, I'm going to highlight all this and duplicate it by using Control-C, Control-V, and move it down here a little bit, and plug touched into in, and then I'm going to plug out into play, just like so. So now we have our first little area up here. All this is now set up. So I'm going to need more space, so I'm going to use Control-Alt, and I'm going to drag this over to like that. And now we have to have our two checks. So I'm going to right click, new condition, comparison, and we're going to compare an integer. And we're going to trigger it after it sets the variable for the key press. So we're going to plug out into in, and then we're going to plug A into the 0. So this is A, this variable is representing A in the flowchart, this variable is representing B in the flowchart. So we're going to set A equals to A, and we're going to set B equals to B. And then we're going to duplicate this compare integer. Sorry, it'd probably be easier to just right click, new condition, compare int. We're going to add another one. And when the two are equal to each other, so we're going to take this event and we're going to plug it into in. So when they're equal to each other, we are going to check to see if one of them is equal to 1. So you can either use this one or this one to plug it into A, but then we're going to duplicate one of these variables, and we're going to plug that into B. So if one of these two variables, which we're checking B at the moment, if B is equal to 1, then we know both of them are equal to 1, and that it should play the event. So if we disconnect this out into break all links, if we plug A equals to B into play, then we know all our logic is right. And we can test this. So if we right click and play from here, you can see the gate doesn't open when we approach it, but if we hit E, the gate opens. And then if we back away, the gate closes. So that's it for today's tutorial. It was a little complicated towards the end, I know. Thank you for sticking with me if you stuck with me this long. This tutorial is recommended to me by a guy named 7249XXL on my UDK Destructible tutorial. He has a few other ideas that I might get to in a little while, but I'll see. I should be getting Unreal Engine 4 in a little while, so I can't wait to do some tutorials on that. If you have any ideas for future tutorials, feel free to leave them in the comment section below, and I will see you next time.
You come and set me. You come and set me.